You're driving down the road and it's a snowy, cold Iowa day and you come to a stop sign. And you're able to stop, but the guy behind you is not. And not only does he hit you, he pushes you out into the middle of an intersection where your car is then totaled by a full-size SUV. You're in a fix now and you need to get a new vehicle. So what are some things that you should look for in buying a new or used automobile? And how do you get the best price when you are buying a car? According to the 2007 Consumer Reports Auto Edition of the Popular Mechanics and Newsweek, there are some very practical tips that we can use for buying new cars, used cars, and getting the best price for them. And let's face it, not everyone will be able to afford the type of car that Newsweek shows in its May 2005 edition. You know the one, the Mercedes CLS 500 that gets around 20 miles to the gallon, has a 5.0 liter V8 with 302 horsepower. And let's face it, it's only going to cost you $66,920. Okay, well, let's get out of trade land and get into the real world here. We're not going to be able to afford that kind of a vehicle. And so, let's look at some practical new cars. According to the Consumer Reports Auto Edition in 2007, there are some very practical cars that we can get. First of all, there's a budget car, and that's a fairly inexpensive car, but yet a reliable quality vehicle, and that's a Honda Fit. And then there's the green car that gets 44 miles to the gallon, and that's the Toyota Prius. A more expensive car, but it may save you money in the long run, as long as it gets 44 miles to the gallon. And then there's a small SUV, which is a Toyota RAV4, and that's a SUV, so it doesn't get as good of a gas mileage, a little bit more expensive, but quite a bit more comfortable. And a lot of us probably aren't going to be able to afford to buy a new car, so how do we look for a good used car? Well, in the October 2007 edition of Popular Mechanics, Mike Allen told us this. When buying a used automobile, it's always a great idea to see what kind of maintenance is required and if the owner has done it, such as regular oil changes, spark plug changes, transmission fluid changes, and brake fluid changes, and those are just to name a few. And so you need to make sure that those things have been done on a regular basis, because if not, especially with the transmission fluid and the brake fluid, you may be in for some very expensive repairs that may take a long time to repair. And so if those things have not been done, you'd probably be well advised to go and look for a different vehicle. And so what kind of makes of used cars are reliable? Well, Consumer Reports in their Auto Edition always comes out with the most reliable and the most unreliable used vehicles. And just to name the general manufacturers, the most reliable vehicles are the Toyota and Honda. Those just generally are more reliable than other vehicles. And then from the worst to the not so worst, here are the unreliable vehicles. The number one worst in reliability is Jeep. And then they have a few off-brand ones in between each of these few ones. But then you have Dodge, Chevy, Ford, and GMC. The vehicles that you see driving around all the time aren't very reliable. And so you'd be well advised to maybe think outside the box a little bit. A general rule of thumb is that Toyota makes very, very good, very quality automobiles. And so now you know what kind of a car you want to buy. How do you get the best price for it? Here are some bargaining tips. First of all, know what the dealer is talking about. They, on these commercials, and even when you're face to face, they use all this language that goes way over your head. And so let's figure out what they're talking about. The MSRP is a manufacturer's suggested retail price. In other words, that's what Toyota or Ford or GMC has told the dealer what they would suggest that the dealer charge for it, for that vehicle. And then there's a dealer invoice price, or the sticker price, and that's what the dealer is going to try to charge for that automobile. According to the Consumer Reports 2007 Auto Edition, it says this: both the MSRP and the dealer invoice price are artificial numbers created by the car manufacturer and dealer to serve negotiating purposes. Neither price should be used by you as a starting point in your negotiation. And that's a very important point to know. In other words, they're saying lowball the price. If you started the sticker price, you're not going to get the best price you can get. Go as low as you can go and then try and start negotiating from there. The second rule of thumb is be careful. Dealers are always trying to get the extra buck, and we can't hate them for it because it's their job. But we need to be responsible consumers, and they will try to sell you worthless add-ons to make more money from you. Some of these add-ons could be extended warranty, rust proofing, fabric protection, undercoating, and windshield etching. And some of these are very good, such as extended warranty. In Iowa, that's not a worthless add-on. And it's probably a good idea to get an extended warranty. But rust proofing, after 5 years, whether you have rust proofing or not, you will probably have some rust on your vehicle. That's just part of driving a vehicle that has metal in it. Your vehicles will rust. And also fabric protection. If you're careful when you get in your vehicle, you won't need fabric protection. So a lot of this is just common sense stuff that they try to sell you that you should use common sense on to say no. And then the third bargaining tip is about trade-ins. Never under any circumstance mention the fact that you have a trade-in until after you have agreed on a negotiated price. They will use that trade-in to their advantage to charge you more money. And then secondly, know how much that car is worth. Kelley Blue Book is a great resource that you can use to know how much your vehicle is worth. Sooner or later, we will all probably have to purchase a different car or truck or van or SUV or vehicle in general. I hope that you will remember the rules about new cars, used cars, and bargaining tips. Remember, you're probably going to be driving this automobile for the next few years, and it may seem intimidating. So make sure that you take your time and know all of your options. Above all, find a car that you will enjoy having and not be embarrassed about every time you get behind the steering wheel.